Thank you all. I'd like to wish everybody a happy 4th this Thursday. Hopefully you're all somewhere doing something fun.
And safe.
And safe.
Safety
Always.
first.
We're gonna start tonight's meeting with the warrants. Stanley has the last general fund warrant from FY19 and the first FY20 general fund warrant.
All right, I have from the general warrants from 628 to 628 for the sum of $27,189.70. The biggest item being MS4 stormwater for $10,000, VLCT, that's the dues we pay every year, and fire department turnout gear for $5,500. That brings us to $24,453 against the $27,189. Do you want me to do the first fiscal year next?
We can do them both with one motion.
Sure.
You sure can?
Let me just go here and pull that out. I know I put it here. I put it right here. I took my time and did it.
As always.
Right here.
Perfect.
No, but starting the fiscal year out with a big sum. So 7/1/19 to 7/1/19 is for the first payment of the new fiscal year. It's $146,311.83. It's 73 invoices. This is where we pay our Franklin County tax. We're the highest town. We get taxed the highest because our grand list is the highest. Now, I thought there was only 14, but I think there's 15 towns because they count Swanton twice in there. So that tax, what we paid for the entire year is $81,892.02. The other big one was Vermont League of City and Towns. If we pay for our disability insurance, not health insurance, there's property tax insurance, is $25,267. Then we drop way down to Allen. He's got guardrails for $9,049 and MS4 for $7,385. That takes like $123,593, 89%.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept both of these amounts that I just mentioned.
Second, anyone?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion or questions by anybody on the board or from the audience? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bruce has the
I got payroll warrants. First payroll warrant is for June 21st in the sum of $22,554.34. Second one is June 28th for $31,130.43. I make a motion to approve both these payroll warrants.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have a warrant for the first time in a while. Kind of the moment we've all been waiting for. We actually transferred some infrastructure fund dollars out of that account and back into the general fund to cover that cost center that our town clerk and treasurer had set up for us for DPW relocation project expenses prior to the vote and after until the start of the fiscal year that began today. The amount that was transferred was $369,509.43. So we saw that in our expense reports every week grow as we expense different things against that cost center. That was the final amount from FY19. It was transferred directly back to the general fund from the infrastructure fund. So now the revenue matches the expense, net zero cost to the general fund as promised. I also have the infrastructure development accounts first warrant, I think ever, potentially, big time here. I have 3 invoices, 2 from our project manager and owner rep, Matt Young of Ascent Consulting for a total of $38,046.80 directly to him. And then we have a Connor Contracting invoice, a wonderful general contractor who's managing the project, the ground, for $171,135. So we only need a motion to approve the infrastructure development account warrant dated July 1st for the amount of $209,181.80. This is more of just general public knowledge that the money was transferred back into the general fund. So if someone could make a motion and then another person could second it to approve the first infrastructure development account warrant.
So moved.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the clerk or the manager? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. So that's awesome. And then we have the regular industrial park account warrants, and it's, a lot of Drumac related invoices, but, a little later on in the meeting, I'm going to ask if Alan would like to provide an update on the new pump installations, just so the public can be made aware of the work going on in the park on that sewer system. But this industrial park account warrant dated July 1st, 2019 is for the amount of $2,629.15, and they're all Drumac invoices. If somebody would make a motion to approve and then second.
I'll make a motion to approve the Drumac warrant. The industrial park warrant.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, perfect. That's the last of our warrants, and now we have minutes with Al.
Yep. So I have several corrections to the minutes. The first is basically the fourth paragraph down. All motions carry with a 4-0 unless otherwise noted. There were only 3 members at the select board that night, so my feeling is I just dropped that paragraph. It's confusing.
Oh, for that one only?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure executive session going in, coming out. Do we need a second on those motions? I noted it wasn't noted in the minutes. I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, technically perhaps.
I don't know the answer to that. On the page 2, at the Collins Burley Board appointment, the next to the last line in the first paragraph, Sanborn and make the complex small c, I would say make that as a large C, capital C.
So noted.
And on page 3, at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down, the state should be capital S again. And I would say the state's population, it's just the state's getting older. I would say that the state's population is getting older. State is too, but
State is too.
the next paragraph, beginning with B. Cheeseman, asked that Mr. Tague, how he felt about putting, not put in a second ice ring, putting in a second ice ring. And then under Tim Smith, FCIDC, the third line from the bottom of the first paragraph, Lavelle should be gravel, Gravel, Gravel. And the next paragraph, beginning, Mr. Smith explained, the sentence underneath that, square foot whereas is should be whereas in the past. And on page 4, a motion Avogel made, grant letters of support, V-Trans, bike and pedestrian. If you go down to the first paragraph, the last sentence, they already had most of their grant application completed and were not going to include a section of McQuamshore Road in the town. I would just change that to put the application comes after their application comes after a section, and then it ends the McQuamshore that exists in the McQuamshore Road that exists in the town. I'll pass all these notes on to you. And lastly, on the top of page 5, the Brad Rinovitz, when you get down to years 10 into the future.
Into?
Yeah, as opposed to in the
Yep.
future. And that's all the corrections I have, so I would move that we adopt the minutes as amended.
I'll second.
Any further suggestions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion
So,
carries.
so may I just make one observation? President Trump got to Mr. Kim by Twitter. We have yet to get a telephone call from the city manager.
On,
Our next meeting.
Oh, we actually are
We-
looking at that date.
we
Oh,
did hear
sorry.
back today.
Oh, did we?
Yes.
We did. We heard back from the manager and the mayor today,
Oh, okay.
and we're
Thinking
grateful.
July 22nd.
Yes, we were hoping for July 22nd. I
That
was gonna
worked
bring
for
that up
any of
later.
you, all of you, hopefully. It's a Monday.
Okay.
I got something I'd like to say too, real quickly.
Yep.
We all get the warrants and everything before the meeting. Is there any way that we could send those corrections in to the town before the meeting so we don't waste our time here at the meetings going over correcting minutes? I think we have better things to do with our time at this meeting.
Well, we could
Well,
try to.
we all
submit
get them
comments
before the
earlier.
meeting. I mean, if you see them, send them in. So I just think that,
Oh, wait,
you know,
I don't get-
grammar and spelling corrections and stuff like that is, you know, it's notable, of course.
Well, just, but, yeah,
It's not worth our time at the meetings.
but then
in my
I
opinion.
need those things sent to me. Do we send them out on Thursday or Friday?
We've been sending them out Friday mornings,
Friday.
but you're right,
Oh.
so we
Friday
probably
morning.
could.
So I couldn't get it back until Monday
Well,
anyway.
isn't there a statutory requirement for open meeting law as to how early a draft has to be put on our website?
5 days.
5
Yeah, we
days
usually
before the
put it
meeting.
on.
So whenever it gets put on the website,
That
we'll
gets
just send
on-
a draft.
That gets put on sooner than you guys receive it in your.
So could you
Figure out a
send,
way to do it.
could you
could
send me
other
a
than-
copy?
So how about that?
Could you send me a copy when you put it out in 5 days? Send it independent copy,
And then
as
that's,
opposed to me
so
looking
they're
it up.
working on packets usually the Thursday
Thursday.
before. So if we could try to submit before noon the Thursday before.
Yeah, it is a good idea. Do you want email or paper?
Email.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
So just send it out to the entire board
Yeah.
whenever it gets posted. That'd be perfect.
Okay, you can do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Jen.
You know my grammar, Carrie. I wouldn't know it if I saw it, so.
You won't be expecting
I'm only
too many,
kidding.
but you can find stuff.
Yeah.
So we have, so we're gonna move on from minutes now.
Good.
We have, I just wanna ask, we have a representative from the state police here, Barrett Commander.
I was just talking to see everybody was, I got a chance to talk to Gary just to catch up with some things. I'd be happy to talk for a minute, but I really wasn't looking for anything specific.
Okay.
And I wasn't on the agenda, so I'm not looking to take up any of your time, but,
Commander, public comment?
yeah, I could go to public comments, I
Okay.
can have a couple minutes times, couple minutes of your time.
Just got a couple quick things to get through and we'd love to invite you up. Thank you. So agenda item number 5 is the town manager contract. The board has been meeting in executive session starting at 5:30 for, we've met a few times on the subject. The board and the manager, we think we've reached an agreement tonight on the contract. I'm gonna turn it over to Al to explain.
So I'm going to move that the contract as presented,
With the one minor amendment.
well, if you get a second, you can ask for an amendment.
Okay, so, well, I can't make a motion.
Right, so I'm moving that this contract as presented to the board or as written, be approved.
I think we,
And second.
And we use a second to talk about it.
right.
I'll
so-
second it.
Okay, so we had talked about the fact that, I'm gonna bring it up because it's, I don't think that it does any harm to either party. There is a section in the manager's contract that has been in since, the manager, Mrs. Johnson, was hired. Ms. Johnson was hired. It's, we discussed it. It's about what would happen if, let's take Carrie out of the position and call it the position, the town manager, because it could be anybody. But in the contract, it says that the board must, the only way the board could formally request in writing that the manager resign is if all members sign a letter. And the discussion was, should it be a quorum or should it be a full board? And there was a talk of 3, 4, or 5 and the different points that belong to each. It could have gone either way, but I thought we had settled that 4 out of 5. I don't know. As presented would make it a full 5. So I don't want to just call for a vote without having said that out loud. I don't want anybody to feel that their opinion in that conversation wasn't heard. I can go either way. I've been upfront about that from the beginning. And again, this is the select board in the office of the manager, not any individual people. It's just a policy. Would you want a contract that mandated an entire board have to sign something versus 4 out of 5 or a quorum, 3 out of 5? So I'm gonna ask that we discuss that if anybody would like to discuss it. If I don't hear any discussion, I'm just gonna call for a vote on Al's motion.
I suggested we hire a person with a quorum vote, and we should have a person resign with a quorum vote. However, I will settle for 4 of the 5.
I'll go along with Stanley. It was my thoughts that I'd like to have a quorum vote, but, I'll go along with the 4.
Do we, Al, I hate to ask you to make a concession of 1 out of
If
the...
somebody has to make an amendment, it has to be seconded.
Okay, would anybody like to make an amendment to Al's motion? Jessica, do you have anything to add that you'd like to say out loud, not to put you on the spot?
I'm okay with 4. I think it's better than 3.
Okay,
I'll second.
so you're gonna you're gonna make the motion to amend Al. So he made a motion to accept the
So the way,
contract as presented.
just the way it'll go under Robert's rules, so you'll make an amendment to my motion, then we vote on the amendment first, and then if that amendment passes, then we vote on the whole contract as amended.
Okay, then I second your motion, right?
Well,
Well, you're
You're
going
gonna
to
make
make
the
an
motion.
amendment. You're gonna make a motion to amend Al's motion.
Okay, I'll make an amendment to amend Al's motion
right, to 4,
to 4.
to 4.
To 4 out of 5
4
instead
members,
of...
4 out of 5 members.
Okay. So, and then someone...
And now somebody seconded it.
Second that motion to amend?
No, I don't want a second, I've got my motion on before.
Right. Does anybody...
You're amending me.
Does anybody
Need a second, so.
need a second to make his motion to amend valid?
I think Stan should second it.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the table to amend Al's motion.
Yes, and you have to vote on one part.
Yeah, but do we have any further discussion on that amendment? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, that's 3. I abstain. You got 1 against. So it's 3, 1, 1. Okay.
Why do you abstain?
Chair doesn't vote unless the break ties under the new rules.
Oh, boy, okay.
But it actually got tricky for me. But thank you. Okay, so now we're back. Al's motion has been amended.
Right.
So do we want to accept this contract with 1 amendment? Do we have any discussion?
I believe it should be reviewed by the town manager if she accepts it.
I do. That's the only change. I reviewed the,
I mean, it's her contract. We can't make, we can present it to her, but it's up to her to accept it.
How do we put an end to this? Okay, we
Somebody,
approve
okay, call for a vote. All in favor of approving this contract with that 1 minor amendment? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
There's been more amendment to the original contract, right?
Well, the contract that we were presented this evening.
Okay, the one we were presented this evening
Right.
is different than the contract we started with.
That's
Right.
right. Very different.
All right,
So, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
all right.
Aye.
401. Okay, so this contract is for a term of 4 years. And now that once it's executed, it'll be a public document, and if anybody would like to read it, contact the office of the manager and have that conversation for yourself.
Fine.
Thank you. So,
thank you.
welcome back for 4 more years.
Come back.
So we
Yeah.
we have agenda item number 6, the Ann Peisch engagement letter. It's something that we do every year in concert with the town clerk and treasurer's efforts to have an external audit done. Audits usually come back clean, but it's basically a loss prevention control.
It's good practice, best practice to have that analyzed every year.
And is there anything you'd like to add before I call for a motion?
No.
Okay, so if somebody,
So moved,
so the motion is to
To-
accept this letter
yes, and sign it.
and sign it.
And authorize you to sign on behalf of the select board.
Thank you. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. 401. I will sign that after the meeting. Now we have to make an appointment to the now vacant seat as of midnight last night for the town's representative on the Collins-Pearly Board of Directors. There were 2 open seats, I believe, the last time the board
Found that
met.
out late, yes, there was an at-large open seat and a town appointed.
So one of the applicants to our seats, Chris Sabrin, was appointed I think it was last Friday,
I believe so,
to
yes.
serve in that at-large seat. So I believe the 2 applicants that we're down to now are Mr. Alan Teague and Mrs. Mary Pickner.
Correct.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mr. Alan T. as our next representative for the Collins Pearl Board.
I'll second that.
For the open seat for the term expiring when it expires.
3 years.
For the duration of the, whatever.
For
the
3 years.
Term is, 3
Okay,
years.
so it's 3 years. Okay, does anybody have a second to that motion?
I do.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, 401. Congratulations, Mr. T. Thank you for stepping up to represent the town, and we look forward to working with you in your new capacity. Lieutenant, please do.
2 seconds to time. Again, not on the agenda, so I was just stopping in to say hi. My name is Morris Lamoth. I know most of you here. Been around 20 years, so I've been here a while. I was just stopping in to see what was going on in the town. I know we don't cover the town, as you have St. Albans PD, who we work very closely with, and I'm very good friends with most of them there, because, again, I've been here 20 years. I got a chance to talk to Ms. Johnson before you guys got here, just to find out what's going on in the town generally through the rest of the summer for events, which is very helpful for us, because everything overflows into our area. So I'm more here to see what you need from us. If there's anything going on I need to know about. Again, I talk to Lieutenant Weatherby almost daily. Talk to Chief Taylor at least 3 times a week. So I have a pretty good handle on everything with our relationships, but I'm just here to see what you have going on.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been about a year since I've been here, so.
Yeah,
Really?
It's been a while,
Nice to
so.
talk this time.
Can never see enough.
Is there anything you can do about Stanley?
You know, I like Mr. Dukas, so. I've known him for a long time. I bet you put up with that all the time,
That
huh?
was well done.
But, like I said, I'm just checking in, see what's going on.
I think the biggest concern I have is just with the traffic during the, the run and the 4th of July activities and everything in the bay. I mean,
But that's all.
it's, I just think that I just like to see you and the town and the sheriff's department, whoever, enforce the laws.
Yeah, it's, traffic is grown over my
Yeah.
20 years, for sure, and it's everywhere. And this weekend particularly, there's events going on, and almost every town has something, whether it's on the 4th or extends through the 7th. So we're going to be stretched thin, as we always are, just like the sheriff's department, just like St. Albans PD. But our troops are always being told, to be on the road as much as they can, and that's what they're going to do. We were just discussing it earlier. The weather, the heat is not going to help any of us in our jobs. We looked at it all last week, trying to predict where the problems are going to be, and with the 90-degree temperatures or thereabouts and high humidity, it's going to be everywhere. So we'll see what we can do. But high visibility is definitely one of the things we're going to try to do this weekend. But realistically, even a high visibility, we're going to have problems off the roads with the high heat. We're going to be in people's houses, so we're going to spend a lot of time there as well. So
I anticipate that it'll be a little bit more active down here this year than in the past, because if you take a look at the number of boats at the marina now,
I noticed that today.
he's filling up a little bit.
That's good.
So that's just bringing more people down here.
It's very good. Yeah, I actually noticed that today. Like I said,
Yeah.
there are a lot of boats down here.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
On a totally different menu. Recently, there was a newscast to CNN had a problem on hate crimes, things like that going on. And ironically, I noticed on the internet that Vermont has at least one neo-Nazi organization in the state.
I don't know how many we have, but I can tell you there are some different beliefs in the state of Vermont, absolutely. And we've run into a few, yes.
And are they managed or are they watched in any forms
Yes.
of intelligence?
So the FBI in the Joint Terrorism Task Force watches over some of that, even though they're homegrown, you say within the state. So they watch that, and we have what's called a fusion center or a Vermont Intelligence Center that watches that. We have a large group of people that are designated just for that. We have both sworn and civilian staff that watches those groups. So it's a constant process. But yeah, I can tell you there are people like that in this area.
Okay. Well, and I'm happy that people are watching and monitoring it. Have we had any efforts against any people of color here in?
You mean crimes out in this area? Not that I'm aware of. We've had Burlington's had their, some
right.
posters and some stuff like that going on. We had reports last week of the church that was vandalized in Richford. There was some thought that may have been the church was a target. Right now it looks like it's more been vandalism than anything else. But there was some stuff in Burlington that went on in the last few years that could potentially been directed at certain people. But up around here, I can't say that we've had anything like that directed at anybody specific.
It's good. Not to get too political, but it is worrisome that this is happening nationally, and I would hate to see it come into Vermont.
Well, unfortunately, whatever happens nationally comes in Vermont, whether it comes in small numbers or not. It's here. It's just like the drug epidemic. It's nationally. It's everywhere. It might be a smaller amount here, but per capita, it's here just as much. But yeah, we feel the trickle effect. It's here. Whatever you see nationally is here.
Well, we're talking about opiate addiction in particular. Notice that the city's jumped on to join the state in a lawsuit against the manufacturer of OxyContin. People are taking multi-pronged effects. Admirable. They're trying. I mean, anything they can do. At the municipal level, you've seen the street crimes unit, how effective that can be.
They're doing very well.
That's what I wanted to ask. From your perspective, do you think that the town, for the investment of whatever is $110,000, $115,000 a year, do you think we see?
So it's a different approach than what our department does, right? So the street crimes unit is all about going in, making arrests rather quickly for the crime. They aren't building the large cases that take a lot of time. They are working those cases, but they're more making the quick arrest, which gives a great result in the public eye, and it takes some of those quick possession and dealers right off the street, and that's great. We tend to build the bigger cases, but it takes a lot more time and a lot more resources. We do it all over the state, so we aren't doing it in a very localized area as much as they are. So do I think you're getting the money's worth? Yes. I think that in the public's view, they're seeing the ramifications of it. They're seeing their neighbor getting arrested, and they're seeing people going to jail and getting arrested. They may not be going to jail. They're seeing people getting arrested going to court. After that, it's up to the court system. Some people are going to jail, but they're at least getting in front of a judge. So I really don't see a downside to it.
Your perspective and your professionalism, it's always admirable and welcomed. And, I just wanted to get your take on that.
I appreciate it, but I think that Chief Taylor's idea for this community has done great because there is a drug issue up here, based purely because of the population. There's a lot of people that live in St. Albans City and St. Albans Town. So the drugs were the problem is here, and he's put his hammer down on it per se. I mean, he's really put an effort into this, and he's gotten some results.
So in the past, there were certain neighborhoods and sections of the town that law enforcement used to concentrate on, but those days are over with. It's everywhere now.
It's everywhere, absolutely. It's an epidemic. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the answer is. It's readily available. It goes from one thing to the next. Oxy type stuff and heroin is on reduction right now, but cocaine's rising like it was in the 80s. So before I started this, and you heard about everything was cocaine based, that's where we're headed again right now. Meth is coming. Meth comes and goes. It's coming again. It's all based on price and how plentiful it is, and that right now is where we're headed. So, and then 5 years from now that may die down and something will come back, and people are addicted.
Did you notice fentanyl in other areas of the county?
Fentanyl comes and goes as well. I mean, it comes in really, really strong, really plentiful, and then people start overdosing, and then it kind of goes away a bit, and then it'll come back again. Fentanyl was really big, 2 years ago, and it's nowhere near gone right now. It's still here, but with Narcan out there, we're not getting the fatal overdoses to the same number as we were a little while ago, but it's still happening.
That's amazing as to where the people are getting the money for this stuff.
Very expensive.
Where?
By our burglary stats, will show you that there's a lot of theft involved in this stuff.
Morris, do your officers carry Narcan with them?
Yes, we all do.
You all do.
Yep. I would say all first responders. from EMS to fire department to everybody carries Narcan. Most carry multiple doses because it takes multiple doses now. One dose typically won't revive somebody. It's so potent.
It's a naive question. Does it revive against all drugs where the person is overdosed?
Just opiate based.
Just opiate-based drugs?
But there's no harm to them. If somebody is overdosed and you have no idea what they've overdosed on, if you give them Narcan, if it's opiate based, you'll revive them. If it's something else, it will do no harm to them.
Okay.
So it's worth a try.
It's always worth getting.
How much do you administer over a 2-month, 3-month period?
You know, it varies throughout the state and it varies throughout the time period.
I mean, your area.
Our area, I would say that for us, the state police in this area, we don't administer it very often at all. We're just too spread out. I would say St. Albans PD, if you ask them that question, it'd be very often.
They're very high.
Because they're within a few miles of the most populated area they cover.
Yes.
For us, typically, rescue beats us there, or a first responder from, whatever rescue department
Right.
is there way before we are. I mean, for us, you're talking 4 troopers covering 19 towns on a shift. So for us to get to Richford, Montgomery, whatever town we're talking about, you're talking a lot of minutes. So typically somebody else is giving them Narcan prior to us getting there. Where St. Albans PD, their response is probably 5 minutes or less for more than 50% of their coverage area, unless it's outlier in St. Albans town. So they're administering it quite often.
So St. Albans PD, they're the only 24-hour coverage other than Border Patrol in this area?
That is correct. Yep. They've got a really good PD going right now. Absolutely.
That's a worthwhile perspective to receive.
That's something to view and say, wow, that's...
To
Yeah,
have-
it's amazing that in this day and age, they're the only one in Franklin County.
you look at a trooper like this who's done anything and everything you can do, from SWAT task force to sniper training to arson investigations to leading a barracks. To have him speak so highly of our department is a big credit.
You have a very good department. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
That's big for me to hear that personally. I feel it's a comforting thing, and we'll make sure that the chief hears it. And
He hears it a lot. We appreciate it. we appreciate the support, no doubt about it.
No, you all do. We all have interactions with the state police every once in a while, and you all do an excellent job.
Oh, thank you.
We're looking
We
forward.
try,
to
but
it.
it's definitely it's a team event up here. We all have to work together. We rely on them, they rely on us, and if we didn't, there's just not enough of us up here. It's just the way it's always been. It's the way it's probably going to be for a while, but we'll be okay.
So I'm a veteran and receive the American Legion magazine every month. And this month's comic page had a joke about being pulled over by a police officer. So the police officer approaches the car and he says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And the driver says, "Yes, don't you remember?"
I actually haven't seen that before, but it's been a long time.
We're giving kudos to people for, organizations for what they do, and boy, I never leave out Border Patrol.
No, they are a huge help
at
to
it
us.
every day.
Yep.
Every day.
They're a big asset for us up east in the
Yeah.
Richford area. They're
Yeah.
a lot of times they're the first ones on scene for us.
The Swan headquarters here consisting of, Ross's Point,
Yep.
Swan.
Yeah, the Swan
Richford.
headquarters actually covers from almost Malone all the way into New Hampshire.
Yeah, I
It's
worked
a
for
big,
them.
it's
at one
huge.
time.
It's absolutely huge. So
You see
They do a
anything?
good
I mean,
job.
if we have a bank robbery here, Border Patrol is mobilized as quickly as any other responding agency.
They sure are.
yeah, they're huge. We use their helicopters. We use a lot of their equipment.
So, thank you for pointing that out.
So yeah, that's all I have. All right, I took enough of your time. But if you need anything, we're always available. You can get me at the barracks. I pretty much live there, or you can get a hold of Chief Taylor, and he knows how to get hold of me.
One last question before
Yes.
you leave. Got your room in the back seat?
Geez, Dan, I don't know.
Mo, give me a break.
You might be in the front seat with him on his way home.
Be safe.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I don't know if this is the right place for this, but I just wanted to talk about Mark Fenton's visit briefly.
Other business? That way we can give it the amount of time
That's
that it
fine.
needs.
Yeah.
That work?
Yeah, that's fine. Make a note so we don't forget.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing about that. I wish I could have been there.
I've heard a lot about it.
It's all over the papers.
It was excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See Michael. Yeah, I wrote a lot about that. Yeah.
Michael did a lot of walking with us.
We're
Hey,
thankful
he's
for
got a new pair of sneakers on. He must have worn out the other ones. So.
So,
Moving right along.
barring any further public comment, let's move on to agenda item 9, the town manager's report.
Great, so the first one, as our past practice, we're continuing to follow it. Act 250, notice this town on an amendment. Klein Family LLC and Zorn Sisters. Didn't see anything that was
Earth
requiring
shattering.
your action. So
Right.
it's just, it's there. The second item is a request for water, actually wastewater allocation. You have the application in front of you. Hopefully you can review that and consider approving it. This individual, it's a residential request for sewer, they're already water customers.
Makes sense. Do you need a board action?
We do need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Stephanie Stevens municipal wastewater connection request. The house is located on 54 Huntington Street in Albans, Vermont.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion or questions?
I just have a question, and it's just curious. On the costs, I want to make sure I understand this. Is this a conversion of existing property without expansion from a well and septic?
That's what I believe it is,
Yeah.
yes.
So
They didn't check that off though, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, right?
Actually, it's not a bad price.
Right. Her system failed.
Right.
So, right.
So it's,
Well, I think.
But it's conversion from
I
on-site
just,
to.
I don't know that, not a bad price. I don't know if we agree with any price for that particular fee, but
that's for a year, that's like $1,300.
that's pretty steep
Well,
extraterritorial tax. But,
if you had to put 40,000 into a mound,
well, 20, but yeah, okay, I don't want to get into
Yeah,
a
yeah.
can of worms, but,
Let's not
yeah.
get into pricing.
So,
that's all I had.
any other questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now they get to go up to City Hall if they haven't done so already.
So the third item, St. Albans Health Path, we did apply for the scoping study last week, at the end of last week, which involved at least 8 different things from V-Trans that they had requested. So we hope, since they encouraged us to apply for this, that we have a good shot at getting the grant. But a lot of work was done by Eric Allen,
The consultant
the
that,
consultant, because we'd already worked on this project, so we're not starting from scratch, we're just adding to what we already have.
Okay.
Which I think is critical. That's kind of it right now. We did have a meeting with V-Trans today, we started the conversation about whether or not what we would have to do to consider taking over that part of the St. Albans State Highway. So to start that conversation, it was good today, and we talked about other intersections.
so the town's administration is still adamantly and diligently working towards procuring a crosswalk across the
Whichever's
Sash.
quicker, yeah.
Whatever we can do.
Across,
The
The
Sash.
St. Albans State Highway or SASH, we call it the SASH, but
Like the 19 ramp, whatever. you wanna
Interstate
call it.
Access Road is what a lot of people call it, but
Near Gracebrook.
it doesn't have a
So,
name on it.
what went on in the conversations about taking it over? I mean,
Well, we're meeting with Jim Coda from V-Trans. He said it would likely start with just sending them a letter, asking questions like, Alan pointed this out, where does if we choose to take it over, where does that start? Does it start
And
so
end.
many feet, and start and end? So many feet from the the light at exit 19 and stop at the city-town line? Does it include any portion of the intersection? So we need to send them a letter requesting that information and requesting, for instance, we know some of it was funded with Fed money. What kind of federal highway limitations are gonna be placed on us?
yeah, that was funded quite a bit with federal money.
That's correct. So we're aware of
Yeah.
that.
So your fact finding.
So if you take something over like that, setbacks, they no longer belong to the state, they belong to the town?
but
right
they're
away.
going to be that's the thing we have to learn. How much is the federal government gonna govern or tell us what we can do and not do on the setback issues?
Yeah. Wow. I bet you that'd be interesting on that particular road.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because all of Interstate 89, everything had big federal money in it.
Yeah, and Jim, who's been doing this for quite a long time, a couple decades anyway, actually paused and said he'd have to look into that.
There's a lot of MS4 problems there in that area, isn't there?
There are some, it's, on either side, there are some wetlands, but, yes.
Yeah.
The state is actually moving forward with a couple gravel wetland project near Exit 19, already. They've started to spend some planning money anyway on that, on a fix to that, but it is wet over there, it is.
So, still fact finding.
But, I mean,
We're
a step
working.
forward,
You're working
yeah,
the
step
channels.
forward.
You're working in channels and you're trying to procure it however we can. You're doing
Each
it the right
week,
way.
you know, we kinda ask,
Right.
what can we do this week, and this week was that.
That's
Yeah.
literally how it's been for the last, off and on for about 2 years. It's been chipping away.
Yeah, I guess in my opinion, we're gonna have to take two tracks. One, you can ask if we take the federal government, taking it over, and the other is to proceed as if we don't take it over,
Right.
and which is faster and which is cheaper.
Well, I'm under the impression that that's what we
Yep.
want to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
Both of them are a mystery right now.
Well,
Somewhat.
neither one are fast if you,
We are in a very different place than we were 2 years ago on this subject.
I think we've made progress, it just doesn't feel as beautiful as we
Well,
want.
it's bureaucratic red tape. It's you're talking
not our
several
road.
layers of government, and we don't own the road to begin with. So.
Correct.
Maybe we ought to have a demonstration.
Yeah, okay, you can organize that, and
Yeah, why don't you go up there and lay in the road?
hey, I'll watch the videos on social media.
Okay.
I'll do my
No.
part. So the last item, Certified Local Government Commission, we did sign that. It becomes effective the end of this week. So far, we've had one individual come forward, interested to serve on that board. We are looking for more.
Was this individual from a professional background?
It was somebody with some historical information, our background. And she's honored, Sarah had from our regional planning commission.
Oh, excellent.
So she's quite qualified, but we need more people to serve on that board.
4 more, right?
What about,
Up to 4, yeah.
have anybody approached the executive director of the Historical Society and the Met Museum?
Did not.
We should do
No.
that. We'll see him tomorrow.
Well, maybe
Will
we
you?
should.
Yeah, we will. Is John the president? Oh, who is?
No, not John,
Alex Lenny.
Alan.
Alex Lenny.
Alex. Oh, the director. I was thinking the board. Okay, yeah.
Let's
If we're having so many problems trying to get people to want to be on the board, maybe we should reconsider the board.
Oh, the ordinance goes into effect.
Well, we didn't really push that hard
We haven't
initially because
pushed
it
it.
took 2 months for it to become final, but
Well, there's a 60-day waiting period that ends Friday.
Right.
So I think we should take the next 2 weeks before our next meeting on the 15th to invite people to apply. Anybody that we might know personally or otherwise that might have a good strong interest in it. I know Alan's expressed that he might want to look at it eventually, maybe. So
and this board isn't it's not a heavy lift.
No.
It's like
Quarterly.
4 times a year.
it's a quarterly.
Um,
And again,
Yeah.
this is the effort that we made to be able to obtain certified local government status with the state to allow the town to apply for historical education funds in concert with the St. Albans Museum. So
correct?
that's the focus of the effort. So if you'd like to join in on that, please send a letter to the board. Copy.
Yep, my
Yeah.
office.
Perfect.
That'll work. And that's all I have under town manager's report right now.
So does anybody have any questions about anything under the manager's report? Anybody
No.
from the public have any questions? Okay. So we're down to schedule. Next meeting is July 15th, and then again on Monday, August 5th. Oh my god, we're already talking about August. Seems like summer just started. Bay Day is this Saturday, July 6th. The roads actually are going to be closed Saturday instead of Sunday this year, which
Yeah.
as a longtime Lower Newton resident was a little different, but thank you for putting out the signage, and now we know.
We started that last year,
Still
putting the race with Bay Day. That way we're not interrupting traffic 2 days in a row for things. We can advertise
would you like to
together.
come up and say anything about Bay Day and plug it? You know, talk about any of the events. I know you're intimately involved with it, and you're wearing such a wonderful shirt. I would love to get it on camera.
Finally trying to relax.
How's that
Like
working
coming
out?
here,
Yeah.
Yeah, what you come here for?
I just need to get this chair over there. No. So Bay Day's this Saturday. Obviously, it's the great race, the triathlon. That starts in the morning. We also have the volleyball tournament going on. So if you got teams, you want to join in the volleyball tournament. I'm trying to do some family functions this year. We're going to have some pedal boat races. And we're also doing what they call a duct tape regatta, which is making a boat out of duct tape and cardboard. Use paddles or fins or something to motorize it to a finish line. Got some great music acts starting at 2, going all the way until fireworks take off in the evening. Food vendors, and I believe the National Guard, they said they'll be there with different events and stuff for families. So trying to make it a little more family oriented and having people stay the entire day. That way they can deal with the food vendors, eat your cotton candy and sausage and stuff, and have some fun events.
Well, we appreciate the update, and we encourage everybody to come and join us for Bay Day. While we have you here, I do have a question. Are there any updates in the last couple of weeks that we'd like to provide on the DPW relocation project? I see we've got some concrete forms.
Concrete forms are up. I'm not sure if they poured today. They might be pouring tomorrow. Last I knew, most of the footings had been poured. At least the whole office area and the entire back footings were done. I'm not sure if the front one's done. The forms are up for the office area. They're trying to get the west side of the garage done so they can start backfilling and doing the underground utilities. There's a lot of electrical conduit and plumbing in the office areas to get done. That allows them to get the ballards put in place and the rest of the footings in the front of the garage. And then they'll start building those frost walls. The engineering had it designed that attaching walls can't be poured within 5 days of each other. So once they pour that administrative part of the garage, they can work on their footings, but they can't attach a wall to it for 5 days. So there are some lead times in between, which is fine because this takes a while for foreman. There's a lot of rebar in this building. And there's a ton of backfilling, so, but it is moving along good. Obviously rain slows things down at the beginning, but things are starting to plug along good now.
I was talking to Carrie last week, and she mentioned something about them running into ledge. How did they work that out?
We did run into ledge, one of the back islands behind where the garage is going. When they dug it out, they did hit ledge. They shot some grades, and it looks like our air relief valve manhole and one of our tanks, they probably would have to jackhammer some of the ledge out to fit it. I've had my guys brush hog in the back field the last couple days. We're initiating that. Once they survey the path for the sewer line, I'm going to take my crew and we're going to do what they call stake driving. It's basically a metal rod, and we're going to try driving it 8 to 10 feet in various sections along that surveyed line, just to get a true understanding if that ledge was just in one area or if it's the entire property.
So there's no outcropping or anything there that you can see? Or?
No.
Yeah, I know
it's
you can't run lines through it, but when it comes to foundations and stuff, we've run into that problem before, and what we did, instead of going through the expense of either blasting it out or chipping it out, we pinned to it, because you can't get a better foundation than ledge.
Yeah.
And you can pin your walls to it and pour on top of it.
Yeah. They didn't hit any ledge where the foundation was.
Oh, okay.
It's just out in the back where there was a rock island.
Oh, okay.
So, but before we get too far into our sewer plan, it's a inexpensive
Have we updated
way
the public
with a
on the
little bit of
sewer?
labor to drive pins
Since
and
we
do some
obtained them
survey.
already.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps not.
Should we?
Maybe next time.
Okay.
I'm gonna sign the easement tomorrow.
Okay, so we're working on procuring the appropriate easements for that sewer plan, and we should be able to give the public a pretty concrete update at our next regular meeting. Thank you, Alan, for the two.
Where you're driving your rebar in 8 foot, is that where you're doing your directional drilling? No?
Yes and no,
How can it be? yes
because I
and
can't
no?
go in wetland. But,
Go under
no, the, engineers are gonna survey and flag a straight line to where the sewer's gonna go. And I'm gonna use our small Kubota and pull our air compressor. That way it's lightweight and it's not gonna do a lot of damage on the property. And, we have the pulse driver so we can drive the pins. So that'll give us a pretty good reading of, I mean, if we drive from where the back of the garage to the buffer of the wetland, and we don't hit ledge, and then we go on the other side of the wetland and drive over on the neighboring property that
Yep.
we're getting the easement from, and we don't hit ledge there, there's a pretty good chance we're safe. We're just trying to cross the T's and dot the I's before we have big equipment come in and start pushing and hitting a ledge. Because at that time, then we're into bigger bits for the boring, and it can get a little costly. So we want to be careful before we do that.
Alan?
One more question, farmer's market?
Farmers market is starting to take off. Obviously, school is finally out. Last weekend started big. We had a big crowd, and then a blast of rain came, and everyone ran for the cars and scattered. But all the marketers said they were selling out of a lot of the stuff, which was nice to hear. We do have musical acts every week, so we got great Mediterranean mixes there with cooked food, so you can come down and buy your dinner. You can sit and enjoy music, buy stuff from the marketers. We've got a great line of vendors. I mean, we've got Plymouth cheese, we've got syrups, we got honeys, we got frozen organic meats, vegetables, jams, we got mead, we got some craft products coming in. So we have good core vendors, but if you are watching and listening and you are interested, it's not too late. I'm always looking for other vendors to join.
Watching, listening, or reading?
Or reading, right?
Exactly. So,
We,
but it is doing good. People love it.
Wednesdays from what time to what time?
It's Wednesday from 4:30 to 7:30.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that
And
up.
it's rain or shine, because we offer on rainy days, if it's gonna be too rainy, we put people inside the stone house.
Carrie?
I just want to remind people we are closed for the 4th of July, and also we're planning, Alan's here, we are working with the city and the Chamber of Commerce to have our first ever Sunflower Fest in August 2nd, 3rd, and
I'm glad that we
Or-
joined in on that. I'm glad that we're joining in on that
Yeah.
effort.
and Scott Magnin and the Agency of Ag are all helping sponsor this.
So you've got state government, local landowners, and both municipalities cooperating to the common good.
We have
That's-
posters, we're gonna have posters up soon, the press release went out today, so more to
Beautiful.
follow on that, but save the date, it should be fun, if Mother Nature cooperates.
She
It'll
will.
still be fun, but.
She's been too rough on us lately.
depends
She'll
on how
cooperate
many-
for
right,
this.
we don't know how many sunflowers will be flowering.
So my
What happens to all the seeds?
He sells the seeds for, I think,
oil.
bird seed and other things, yeah.
So we've got. Any more questions or comments for Alan?
I just will comment on the industrial park, because you did bring it
Oh,
up. If you just want a quick update. So the sewer pump station, we were hoping to start on July 12th. Deliveries of our pumps, they're coming from out west. It's a little slow, so things have set back, so it'll probably be more like the 21st to 25th, somewhere's in there of July, when the pump station will happen. One of the pumps is here. I've got it at the garage. I've got the risers. I've got valves. A lot of the product has already been delivered, but we're waiting on the other two agitating pumps, and so we should break ground on that by the end of the month.
Are you installing your pumps, your crew?
No, everything is being contracted. I'm working with the engineer overseeing the project, but No, it's too technical. This
Okay,
is something
if
that's,
it's being contracted, is that something that we've gotta go out to bid on?
that's,
What's the
We
dollar,
only-
what's the dollar amount?
160,000 or so.
Oh,
It's a very specialized,
yeah, there's only one engineer really in the state that works on this, these pump systems. And
I'm not-
honestly, it's really not, even though it's, I don't know if I should say this, but I mean, it's, the industrial park's paying for it, it's not coming out of
Oh,
our
okay,
budget.
sure.
So,
All right,
it's not,
different story,
I mean, we're
it's not,
yeah.
we still can sole source something though, and this is so specific, I think that's why we went there. The engineers suggested who can handle this
Well,
sort of
we're not
tech.
even hiring an engineer, are we? I mean,
Well,
I
we're
can-
managing the process.
Yeah,
Securing a loan to pay for everything,
Right.
and then.
we are,
yes,
then they're paying us back?
Yes,
Yes.
I'll bill them.
and it's based on their water bill.
Well,
I
then
bill
if we're flipping a bill initially, why aren't we bidding this out if it's $100,000?
Because there's only one contractor.
No, I don't buy that one.
I'd say we're a little late in the process right now. This job is ready to happen, so.
It says, I mean, our purchasing policy allows a sole source.
No,
For a
not,
specialized-
not for that dollar amount, it doesn't. For $100,000?
$160,000.
160, not at that
We,
amount. That's- Anyways, like you said, it's too late, next time.
I don't know that I don't even know that it is something that would have needed to be done, given that it's such a specialized, localized issue. I guess we could recap that again later.
It was really up to the park owners. We
It
worked
was.
really hard informing them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they had a meeting that was run largely by the town clerk, DPW director, and FCIDC director / St. Albans City Mayor Tim Smith. They informed representatives of almost every park tenant, including our new meadery. I'd love to
Yeah.
plug them every chance I get. If you don't know what mead is, go try it. They informed them all of how it would be paid for, exactly what it was, the costs involved, and they all seemed to form an agreement, and to work a lot like the current North End water sewer expansion bond. The town paid for it, and the users are paying it back, and this particular setup will be based on water consumption.
Doesn't make any difference what it is. It's town money spent, it's taxpayers' money spent. It's our job to make sure that we're spending that money wisely. We don't spend money wisely when we don't bid the work out, we take one price on it. That's my take on it. But like we said, it's done, it's over with. Next time, we'll have that discussion again.
We did have several opportunities to have that discussion along the process. I mean, there were how many warrants and how many discussions over how poorly
This
working
current
these
system
current
was-
systems are. And I mean, I think it comes down to convenience of the park tenants. They want to know that they have a functioning sewer system that's not triggering
Absolutely, I'm not
alarms.
saying, I'm not saying that.
So,
I'm not saying that they don't, I'm not saying they don't deserve one. I'm saying that it's our job to make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck and that we're spending the town's money, which we are, whether we're getting paid back or not, we're spending it wisely and at the best, getting the best deals that we can.
I have,
Over and said, done
Okay.
with.
All right, so let's move on from that. No more from. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to any of the topics we discussed?
Nope.
Okay. Any more
Are we,
questions?
gonna interfere with paving or anything?
In the industrial park,
Yeah, with the sewer install.
not at all. I've reached out to the paving contractor. He was hoping mid-July to be in the area, but he hasn't confirmed it. The weather's kind of made them fall way behind.
I'm waiting on it too, Alan. They're wicked way behind because of the rain.
But all the work for the pump station's off the road, so
Great.
it wouldn't
They're
affect
really-
our paving.
It's a really interesting system.
So,
What will happen, thinking of Bruce's comment, what will happen if they don't get the paving until September, October, November?
our contract says it has to be done by the end of September, and he's very aware of that. So he's talked to the scheduler, and so they have to abide by that contractor. They'll have to come back to us.
Let's not run into the same problem we did a couple of years ago
Yeah.
Right.
when we paved along short late in the year.
Right, didn't
And
hold.
go in and make major repairs the following year. So it's almost best if it's too late, just put it off to the following year.
Right.
Yeah.
None of the roads in our town.
But
barring
these
maybe a
guys
couple.
realize what they're up against. They're hustling.
Are you
They're
still
trying to do
working
the best
on?
they can.
Well, I have you here. Are you still working on formulating a possible plan for the terrible areas in French Hill?
I am,
Terrible areas.
I am
French
working
Hill.
on that price. I'm waiting on some from different contractors.
So you're still working on it.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to. Okay, so barring any further questions or comments for Alan, thank you. Now,
Welcome.
please go away before somebody asks you more questions.
Bye-bye.
I could talk to him all day. We'd be here till midnight.
Hey, I agree with Brendan. Nice shirt.
I love it. I've got 2 of them from my honeymoon. I wear them out in public. I swear, no,
Well,
Julie
it's
does.
fine.
Julie loves it. As long as she's happy, I can be happy.
Well, you're learning quick, huh?
Hey, you got good teachers. So the only other thing I have under schedule is what we talked about. The city confirmed today that Monday, July 22nd works for them. Now, Bruce may have a scheduling conflict, but we're gonna
I'm not sure. I'll have to check.
let's all review our schedules for the 22nd and try to touch base tomorrow.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
So, does anybody have anything they'd like to add to schedule before I move on to the chair's report? Okay, so I'm going to move on to agenda item number 11. Carrie and I had a great time playing in the Community Partners Classic Scramble Golf Tournament put on by NCSS and NMC every year. It's the biggest tournament played at Champlain Country Club. We played with Fire Chief Cross and Mayor Tim Smith. We called it Team St. Albans. It was a great day. Where else can you spend 5 hours alone together, in such a calm atmosphere and playing a game that, fosters a good, sense of teamwork. You're literally working together to
So where'd you place?
not.
Well, he caddied for Carrie.
Oh,
I did.
Hardly.
No,
Somebody carried our team.
no. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I've got-
golfer.
I
Yes.
have a picture of the mayor in a ditch off of hole number 13 pulling somebody's ball out. I think it was the Chiefs. So we've got a picture of the mayor, and I'm going to forward this, as long as it's okay with Tim, I'll ask him. I'm going to forward this around, because it's Tim. I've got the ball coming out of his hand, and it was just a blast. And we had a good time, and all the money goes towards good causes.
How much money you raised?
So
don't know.
they raise a serious amount of money out of this tournament. I know from being on the golf course board of directors a couple of years ago that the course nets, about 2 to 3 times the amount that it does off of a regular
Wow.
scramble.
Wow.
It's a big event. You're talking a lot of major teams, a lot of major companies and players in St. Albans are represented at this tournament every year. It's a
That's
good place. You see people that you don't see anywhere else other than functions like that.
Is this for the hospital?
Hospital and NCSS.
Okay.
So the talk was we might get back together and do that again for Tim's house or any of the other tournaments later in the summer. We had originally thought it would be great to have myself, the town manager, and then the mayor and the city manager. He couldn't make it. He had a conflict, but that
Chicken, in other words.
I want to put in a plug for Tim's house. When they had their last renovation, they invited me to the ribbon cutting ceremony, and I got to tell you what a worthy cause that place is. It saddens you a little bit when you go in there and you actually see a family that is without a place to live, and we can only, thank God we got places like that for those people.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I'm working closely with Senator Corey Parent, town resident Ben Kaufman, and Gerald Bovat, Tim Bovat's father, longtime area resident and business owner who makes sincere contributions to Tim's house on a regular basis. And we're working on the annual golf tournament, which raises a pretty good chunk of money for them every year. And, usually a project like that is something that you just work on it and to help somebody, but it's turned, just because of the reasons that Bruce just pointed out, it's a real passion project. So when I cold call you all for donations, I want you to remember what Bruce said, including for no.
Well, yeah, really, I mean,
It's-
we can, you visit a place like that and walk through there and you take in those surroundings and you just
You don't feel
thank
the
the
same.
dear Lord for everything you have.
I've talked to some of the men going in, waiting to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all sad stories.
We
Also, some of those people are so ingenious to survive. It's absolutely amazing to me.
they it's a good community resource. Along with Martha's Kitchen, they provide a sincere service that often gets overlooked, and we're grateful for it. Other than that, Carrie hit the nail on the head with the Sunflower Festival. Mark that on your calendars and hope Mother Nature cooperates. Bay Day this weekend. Come on down. The pavilion at Cohen Park is done. It looks great.
It does, looks nice.
And I want to say that the parks crew, they're doing an excellent job maintaining both parks. I go by both of them regularly. We've had some water issues down in Bay Park, but that really hasn't affected the areas that we can maintain at all. Robbie and his crew are doing an excellent job. I hope that you pass that along to them. Please tell them to keep it up. We just wish everybody to have a safe and happy 4th. If we are here with us on Bay Day, or if you're out doing something else, just be safe and be happy. Other than that, I don't have anything under my report. I think under business, we should immediately start with Jessica's report on Mark Fenton's time here in St. Albans.
So for those of you who don't know, Mark Fenton is a national walkability expert. So he consults with the CDC and he travels the country meeting with municipal leaders and helping them envision what their town could be like. So we were lucky to have him here for 4 days in Franklin County, and he spent 1.5 in St. Albans town, which was really nice. And I'll give you kind of a brief overview, but I'd love to come back in a month and show you some of the pictures he took, and he's creating a report for us so I can really report out on everything that he came up with. But and there's tons of literature and science backing this, but pretty much saying the built environment, what we put into our community, is really the key to all prevention. It's the key to people accessing services. It's also a big economic driver because towns are putting money into walking and biking, and that's what people are looking for. So all these people who are graduating college or live here and are looking to start their career and can start it anywhere in the world because all they have to do is work from a laptop, what's going to keep them and make them want to move here and stay here? And this is one of the keys to it. So he really looked at Route 7 North. We have a scoping study that we did there looking at putting in sidewalks, and he came up with some real kind of low-cost ways to try things out with the community. So if there's something we want to look into, he's going to give us a report of ways that we can just throw up some cones, do some sidewalk paint, give people an opportunity to try things before we actually build them. That's kind of the key to getting some of this stuff done. If we have a specific area we really want to work on, there's ways to set up an event, let people walk it, let us know what they think about it, and then we can decide if we're going to invest the money into it. But Route 7 North, he had really good ideas. We looked at the Sash. We also did a big day here at the Bay and then all along the Quam Shore. And he just had some really interesting ideas that I could go into depth on, but I don't want to use up too much time tonight, and I'd love to have the photos to show you guys as well. One of the big ideas that I walked away with, he said in some towns they have a separate committee that looks at if every project that town is approving is looking at connectivity, walking, and biking. And I don't know if for our town we want to start another committee because it's hard to get people on committees. But I do like the idea of maybe creating a vision of what we want our town to be. And then whenever we look at a project on any level, we're seeing if it matches that vision. And I know I looked in the town plan, and I think there is a vision for the town right now, but it doesn't encapsulate any of that, the walking and biking or the connectivity that we're looking at. And I think based on the survey that was sent out to all the residents last year, I skimmed through that too. And that's that's a high priority for a lot of people. So I don't know how, what you guys think about that idea and how we would go about updating the vision, but I would love to just see more of the projects coming through the town being looked at through that lens. Like if you're gonna put in a new development, how are you connecting to the rest of the community? How are you making access easier for people? Route 7 North, there's a lot of people, for part of my job with Rise Vermont, when we were doing the study, I went out and talked to people working at Hannaford's or Price Chopper, or people who were waiting for the Green Mountain Transit to come back to town. And there's a lot of people in our town who are walking because they have to. They're getting there for work, they're walking there to get their groceries and then taking the shuttle home. They might not have a car, they might have one car in their family that they're sharing. So I think, Mark Fenton was saying, when you see a community that's thriving and you see kids outside playing and riding their bikes, they're doing that because they feel safe. And if that's the sign of a healthy community, also that's serving the elderly and people of any age. But that's the sign of a thriving community. And you definitely see that a little bit more than we used to. Like City School, for example, kids used to not walk to school at all. And now if you go by on a morning when school's in session, you'll see probably 40 bikes out there and tons of kids walking to school. And the same thing with Town School. Every Wednesday they have Walking Wednesday, and I think there's well over 100 kids that walk to school every Wednesday. So the culture's changing, and I just think it's a good opportunity for the town to kind of jump on that.
I think it's up to us to make it a safe environment for them to do that, though.
Yes.
And, two things. Number one, like I was telling you earlier, I attended my first meeting in Montpelier for the Downtown Development Board last week, and there were 13 representatives. There were 13 towns that had representatives there, and I think every other one of them spoke about Mark Fitt. I mean, he must have covered some territory when he was here. And everybody there was just positive, comments on, and I'd like to maybe if we could have a meeting and talk about some of the ideas that he came up with, especially on the SASH.
Yeah.
To see what he thought there, but I'd like to get going on Route 7.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I drove that I've been driving, I've been looking at it, and I'm saying to myself, wow, this is where we could start, and this is where we could get a sidewalk in and do something. And as I spoke about earlier in the meeting, let's stop talking and let's do something, please. Let's do it. Let's get behind it and push it.
I agree. How do we do it?
How do we do
we've
it?
got a
You know
meeting
what?
coming
We
up.
don't take no for an answer, and we just, we got, a journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with one single step out.
I understand.
So let's have another meeting and sit down and put our heads together
Well, let's get it on the.
and see how we're gonna make this thing move.
We'll make sure that it's on the agenda for the 15th if we don't already have a really stacked meeting. And
I think we
think
wanna
we
do
need a
it,
special
Brendan, where
meeting.
we had some time.
Yeah,
we
I
need a
think,
special
you know.
meeting, but I think we could use that our next meeting as an opportunity to discuss when we want to meet and maybe identify some exact topics or areas that we want to talk about. And,
Yeah, so let's prioritize. I mean, we've done this time and time again.
Yeah.
But prioritize where we wanna start and stay on it.
Well, we've shown that we can be an effective organization when we're all behind a project, given the results of the DPW relocation.
If
We
you,
identified an issue, we found a solution, we got behind it,
Yep.
the voters approved it. I think we need to exercise that same.
if we, I'm looking at Route 7, I drove that route several times this week. I know there's some troubled spots, but don't let that stop
Get
us.
they're not that troublesome.
No.
Well, it's not like
Not
you're
if you
going
take a look at what Colchester's doing right
Right.
now. And I'll tell you what, they are really rocking. They are really putting in some fantastic walking paths, bike paths.
But that was a 20-year project.
Oh,
And we did have the problems of where you have piecemeal sections, but we also had a master plan, or the town had a master plan to fill in. And then when there were spots where there was no money, the town paid for it.
yeah. But I'm willing to bet you money, just like Jessica said earlier, that if we were to talk to those merchants on Route 7, that we would get very little pushback,
Right,
because it's only gonna benefit them. Them, their families, their
right.
their income,
the whole community.
the whole community.
So So
Let's get going.
let's keep talking about it and let's get on it.
Yeah.
So, and we had
Well,
also talked about Bruce maybe inviting somebody from the Downtown Development Board to come
Yes.
speak to us about the town's prospects of developing a downtown. So that's something to look at. You know, we had Bruce as, you know, a representative on the Downtown Development Board now, and he's, you know, he's just getting his
We'll keep
feet
it-
wet now, but he's being, you know, very communicative, and you know, we're appreciative of that,
Yep.
and we want to capitalize on it. So, I have.
Okay, that's all I got to say.
Before, I know this discussion, we're gonna have it at our next meeting, I have an idea that I'd like y'all to think about for a couple weeks. Don't shoot the messenger, you know. So I've been thinking, and you know, I've never gotten the volume of phone calls, emails, text messages from people that I both know personally and that I don't, about any particular issue, like I've gotten now in the last month about hunting in the town forest. I never received that type of a public.
You think you're the only one?
Well, that's. And I know we're going to discuss it, but here's, you know, I've had basically a month to myself now without meeting with all of you in the room. And where I'm at is, you look at the neighboring properties, they're probably still being hunted. Given the range of a firearm, if we were to take firearms off of the town forest during any particular season, is anybody walking on the outskirts of the forest on an outward trail overly safe because of that action? More so than they would be? I don't know. Because you could still have hunting activities going on in neighboring parcels. The other part of me says, we don't know how many people hunt up there. We don't know what seasons they hunt in. We don't know how concentrated it is. I wish I spent a week thinking, there's gotta be a way. So I looked it up. How do people keep track of hunting activities on public lands? They issue no cost or low cost permits. I don't think it would be a bad idea for the town, as part of this ordinance update, to include a free permit. If you want to hunt in the town forest or trap, you've got to identify who you are, where you live, you know, prove that you have a license to do that activity, and just for our own benefit, and then identify the season you're participating in so that we can begin to track it and see what kind of data that we can produce out of that, so it could lend itself to future decisions.
You might get some scary information on that one, because you still got the people using it that are walking, hiking,
Well, that's what
jogging, and
But then
but
it-
it might better help us determine, well, maybe there's certain seasons of hunting that we should close it down,
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
you know,
So-
or not.
We're
You
gonna
know, one or the
drive. We're gonna drive a sincere amount of people. We believe we will. This new trail upgrade will drive a sincere amount of people in that area. My thought is, at least for the next couple of years, if the board agrees that this new volume that we're expecting is not a good mixed use with hunting, given that neighboring properties all around the forest are probably already participating in those activities that we would like to ban on that property during those times, maybe it makes sense to step back, implement a permit procedure in the town clerk's office or upstairs, however we think is best. You know, inform the public that that's what we'd like to do, and then spend a couple years collecting data and educating hunters that they have to get that permit and see who hunts where. Because really, in my mind, there's only 2 seasons in all of hunting that really amount to any amount of sincere, danger over another season, and that's rifle and black powder. So you're talking, if you include youth weekend, the majority of the month of November, and then the first week or two in the month of December. Archery is not a concern to me. I mean, 100 yards, 300 feet in that forest, in some areas, you can't shoot 100 yards. You can't shoot 50 yards. I'm thinking that the way to go about it and respect the existing people that have been using the forest for what they use it for, hunting, for generations, maybe we need to track how many people are actually using it. Because if it turns out that only 2 or 3 people are using it, and we could show that, 10 times that volume of residents would use it for non-hunting purposes, maybe a board at a future date will decide to ban hunting during those seasons, or altogether, all seasons. But if we want to, we could do nothing. The way I see it is we have 3 options. We either do nothing and leave it the way it is, which I don't know that I'm a fan of. We can implement a permit process and begin to collect data at no cost to the actual hunters. Just the fact that they'd have to fill it out. We could do it online even, submit by email, you know, just to be able to track that data. And then we could, you know, in concert with that effort, we would ban hunting for rifle and then possibly black powder, which it's not that many weeks out of the year compared to the other times of use that non-hunters would get out of it. I just don't know how many hunters are actually up there enjoying the forest during those seasons.
But do we know how many people that are up there enjoying it?
Well,
Walking
you might
and
be surprised what I'm going to say. I actually, hunting's such a long time tradition in this region, and I think that when mountain biking is winding down naturally because the leaves are falling and the trails are getting slippery, that's when hunting tends to ramp up. So I actually have been talking to quite a few mountain bikers and have asked other towns what they do, and I'd be okay leaving it or doing like a simple permitting
And then we
just to get permission to have an idea of who's up there. But I would think at this point my stance is to not ban it.
So I would
Not
think we
ban it
should.
from-
Before you go on
Yeah,
with
don't
what you
ban
think,
hunting.
Yeah.
my feeling is we should have a recommendation from the Parks Committee. I
That's
would
fair.
I think we need to ask them what they think,
They
what
meet
their
again
position
Wednesday,
is.
right?
Well, first, we actually
Next
asked the
Wednesday, I
game warden and some other people to
We're
come
supposed to
to our
come
next,
here.
Yeah,
they're
they're
coming
coming
to our
on the
next
15th.
meeting. so
That's
we-
one.
But
The other thing is, why can't we ask the Fish and Wildlife, or whatever it is, Parks,
Game warden?
Fish
Game
and
warden,
Wildlife.
they track deers that are shot,
Yeah.
and where?
Oh,
Why can't
true.
we have those
We-
statistics and give us some
Mark,
sense
I
of
can-
how much?
I'm a hunter. I'm not very avid, and I'm definitely not very good. You know, I spend a lot of time in the woods as more or less of an effort to, hang out with certain members of my family more so than anything else. And I can tell you that just because you're participating in an activity with a firearm, a loaded firearm in your hand, that you might even decide to discharge, doesn't mean that you're gonna get any particular deer or any.
That I know, but I'm sure
So-
they have statistics to,
But they aren't.
Let's start
You
with
could
the
have
game warden.
15 people go there in a day, and have 0 reported, taken game. That's
more
what-
than likely, at least the people I track up on French Hill is, if one guy gets a deer, you can count on 3 cars up there next day. They talk.
Well, it's just
So my feeling is if you get some statistics on the number of deer that are shot, given any period of time, it'll give you an indicator, not gonna give you a scientific amount of people, but it gives you an idea of the herd,
right.
and then the people out there trying to find that
Yeah,
herd.
but don't we also have to know how many people are using that during that same period of time that aren't hunting?
I mean, the park,
Well,
Yeah.
I think
yes.
the hunting's is the use now, and like Jessica said, the technicalities of the season will change, limit the use for mountain bikers anyway.
I think we,
I don't know that it makes sense to ban hunting. I think we need to, if we want to keep people safe and we want to ban one thing or the other, I think you have to shut it down for hunting. In those 2 particular seasons, and then go.
I think,
Oh, nice.
Sorry, Stan.
I think, now that we. What was it?
I don't know what that
Giant
was.
bug.
It was,
So-
yeah.
Somebody giving me bad omens. Maybe I got the wrong idea.
I think we gotta wait until
Let people
the
talk.
commissioner comes in and the biologist, because this area, which they described as the F area, F zone,
B.
it was the F zone, I believe, and
B.
the deer pop,
It's
B is in
Boy.
B as in boy.
The zone is B.
right. It was, the herd is manageable at 18 deer per square mile, and we have 25 in this area. And they do carry a lot of ticks now.
Yep.
So, and they're also worrying about people running into them with cars, and causing some personal injuries. So we gotta listen to
What they say.
They say.
what
Yeah.
they say, then
operational.
based our decision on,
Right.
I think we're gonna
Some
arrive at a
facts.
similar conclusion.
yes.
Keep hunting open.
But they're coming at your next meeting, so you don't have to.
I wanted to test the water with what I've been thinking about, give everybody the opportunity to internalize it for 2 weeks, and then remind us of the fact that we have to discuss it. So I'm gonna consider that done unless anybody wants to add anything to it.
Like if I'm a hunter and I come home, I get out of work early to go hunting, I gotta run down to town hall and get a permit.
Well, if you get it, it'd be good for the entire season.
Right, if I do it, you know.
Right.
but
And
a
we
lot
try
of-
to make it. I'd
A lot
want
of people try, you know how they hunt in this season, they'll push a herd over in this season. It's not season, but area,
Right.
so
I think we could. We just have to have a method.
we
of
gotta
tracking
do
these.
something. But let's wait and get all the data.
My only other piece of other business for the night before I, it started off a few meetings in a row with some sad news, people passing. And I was gonna do it again tonight, but I said, you know what? He'd want me to do something different for him. So Robert Ashton, Mr. Ashton, the namesake of Ashton's Alley at BFA, passed away. He was a substitute / assistant to the assistant golf coach when I was in high school. So I didn't get to experience him as a teacher or an athletic director.
Are you a math teacher?
English.
English?
Excellent man, cared about this community's kids and students more so than I think most educators ever do. I mean, this guy he's cut from a different cloth.
Right.
Local person. I'll just say this. So I read about it on social media, like a lot of people probably did. People posting tributes to him, reading about how they had all been affected. Generations of people. And I thought, wow, this man's got a real touch. So I called my grandfather Saturday afternoon. And I said, hey, what you doing? He goes, just reading all the papers. And I was reading my old English teacher passed away, Mr. Ashton from BFA. And I thought, wow. And I said, do you know who you had for the period before or after him or any of the other classes? And he said, no, not really, but I remember Mr. Ashton. And then you got to be a really special person for a 70-year-old to remember who you were to begin with, let alone what subject you taught and where your classroom was. So St. Albans is a lesser place without Mr. Ashton in it, and our condolences go out to his family and his friends. That's all I wanted to say. So if anybody has anything to add to other business, please say now.
See, your grandfather is younger than I am.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Ashton started the year I graduated, the fall.
No, that's just the lives that this guy has touched. I mean, the people who knew him, the people that remember, you remember that. You remember that. There could have been another teacher down the hallway 2 doors that started the same year, and nobody remembers who the person was.
Oh, I don't. I just read it in the paper. I know Bob. I know him well.
Good guy.
I know him well.
Anyway. So,
His wife also had Alzheimer's. Yeah, he took care of her. He'd go to the games. 7 o'clock, he'd leave to go. He has a daughter at home, but Roberta, the daughter's name. Yeah, and he has a son, Mark. Graduated with my oldest daughter.
see? Well, let's, does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that.
I'm looking at you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
I think calling hours on the 12th.
They're doing something at the complex forum on the 12th.
There'll be reception following burial.